Lee, what does the Mongolian economy look like at the moment?
Mongolia currently is in the process of transitioning from its exploration phase, which has been happening from 2001 up until around the middle of 2009, or the end of 2009, into its minerals extraction phase. And during the exploration phase, the country's been growing between 6.5% to 9.5%, which corresponds with exploration activities. What started happening at the end of 2009 and quite substantially a bit more in 2010 is they started extracting the minerals. Primarily they were working on coking coal in the Gobi Desert close to the border with China, and now we're seeing some extraction and export of iron ore. And this is causing the growth rates to jump substantially, even possibly to double upon what we've seen during 2001 to 2009. So I think last year the government has revised their figures. The economy grew around 13%, and I think quite a number of analysts are expecting the growth rates to be 15 to 20% this year. And the IMF is predicting in 2013, when Oyu Tolgoi starts producing, for the economy to grow at around 23%. So that's the state of the economy right now. The economy feels more active during the spring than it has in ever before during the last 9 years. So there's a lot of economic activity going on. Financial markets are growing, and there's a lot more liquidity coming into the market.
So what are some of the current opportunities for foreign investors?
There's quite a lot of people interested in investing into Mongolia, but the opportunities have been very difficult to grab a hold of. So firstly, people are investing into the IPOs onto foreign stock markets. We've had junior exploration companies listing in Canada. We've had a number of IPOs now, including backdoor listings on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Last year we saw a flurry of listings on the Australian Stock Exchange, and there's one Mongolian company listed on the AIM board in London. In addition to that, there have been a growing number of international investors investing into the property market because as the mining industry has been growing, there's been quite a number of expatriates, primarily from Canada and Australia, moving into the country with very few proper housing and accommodation for these people to move in. So that's been a dramatic investment opportunity. Generally, the yields within the real estate industry have been above 20%, and the tax rates in Mongolia are actually quite low. And the capital gain has been pretty good also over the last 9 years, so that's been one of the best opportunities. Coming this year, what is interesting is that the London Stock Exchange has now made an arrangement to cooperate and manage the Mongolian Stock Exchange. So we are anticipating that the number of companies listed on the Mongolian Stock Exchange are going to increase dramatically this year. That the market capitalizations, the market's going to grow itself simply because a lot of the current companies that are listed on the market, they're actually growing. Their profits are growing, their revenues are growing. So I think we're going to see an increase in liquidity and an increase of investable companies that are on the exchange. Lastly, there's the private market opportunities for people that really have a high risk profile, like private equity funds. So there are a number of companies that are growing, they're unlisted, they're in Mongolia, and they need expansion capital.
So in terms of some of these funds, what are some of the considerations that people should have?
It's very important to look at the track record of the people that are marketing these funds, and there are not very many people that have been in the country investing actively as a private equity investor or as a listed equities investor for the last 5 to 10 years. And as you know, there haven't been that many listings of Mongolian companies overseas, so it's difficult for them to claim that they have a track record of successfully listing Mongolian companies and having a good return to their investors. So I think within the property market, within the stock market, within the resources market, there have been some successes on the Australian Stock Exchange. These are places that people should look basically for performance.
Lee, how much of a concern is inflation going forward?
With a country growing as fast as Mongolia, one really has to keep an eye on the inflation. We have seen strong inflation during the past, especially in 2007. We started to see aggressive food price inflation. We started to see a very aggressive housing inflation. And now we're also seeing inflation in food prices around the world, and we're even seeing China food price inflation having an effect on Mongolia because they're starting to buy some of Mongolia's meat products, and this is of course having an adverse effect on the Mongolian food prices as well. When we add on the fact that we're kind of expecting 12 to 20% growth in the economy this year, it's reasonable to expect that we're going to have food price inflation. And this is something that people need to keep an eye on. And it needs to be managed by the government. And there's not a state-owned development bank that lends money into the agricultural sector. It really is a free market economy. So we have seen strong productivity growth in the agricultural sector. We have seen investment starting to come into the infrastructure sector. There's a lot more to be done. And it's really a question of whether the fast-growing economy is going to outpace the productivity improvements and the investments into these bottleneck sectors of the economy. And if that productivity doesn't catch up, we are going to see inflation. So I would say we're definitely going to see inflation this year. The question is how much, and will it become dangerous?
Lee, how can investors benchmark opportunities in Mongolia compared with other frontier markets they might be looking to invest into?
Firstly is the political system that's in the country. Secondly is the currency convertibility. If you put your money in, are you able to get it out? Thirdly is the freedom of doing business in that country. If you look at some of the countries in Southeast Asia, you are forced or required by law to have a local partner. In Mongolia, you are not. And there's also quite a number of countries that restrict the sectors that foreigners are able to invest into, and Mongolia does not. And then you need to consider the tax rates in the countries as well. And I would say if you make less than $2.5 million in income in Mongolia, you're generally going to have a tax rate of around 10%, which is in fact lower than Hong Kong and Singapore, which are very business-friendly countries. If you make more than that, it's generally going to be around a 25% tax rate on your income. So these are some of the considerations that people should look at. Also, proximity to where you are. I mean, Mongolia is in Asia, sitting above China. The fact that it's going to be feeding minerals to China probably for the next 100 years, I think, is also another interesting consideration for people.
Lee, what's your outlook for Mongolia over the next 10 years or so?
My outlook for Mongolia 10 years from now largely depends on their ability to manage the inflation that is inevitably going to come into Mongolia. However, I think the current government is quite a talented one. They have a bunch of very young and educated leaders that are very business-minded. So I'm reasonably confident that inflation will be managed to some extent. And so when I look 10 years ahead, what I see is a country that has 0% unemployment and has difficulty in running the businesses and growing the businesses because they don't have enough people. And so there's going to have to be some immigration into Mongolia, similar to what we have seen in Qatar or Dubai. And that's going to be one of their main constraints to growth in the future. I do think that they're going to have a sovereign wealth fund that will become substantial over time. Maybe not in a short period as 10 years, but definitely within 20 years. And we'll probably start to see some Mongolian companies growing big enough to actually go outside of their home market into other markets in the region. So to see, a few Mongolian companies with market capitalizations of 15, 20, 25 billion US dollars over the next 10 years it's very, very possible.